Welcome to this week's featured game from the Tournament of Doom. I'm Senior Doom, and joining me again is the ever amazing Pokeyemi. We're going to watch Rapid Strike Box, which is Urshifu, Inteleon, a little bit of Octopus, your Octillery, going up against Giratina Lost Zone. Now, Emmy, you've played against this deck a little bit at the Tabletop 1K, last weekend? How do you feel about the Rapid Strike Box?
Well, if your opponent knows how to set up those damage counters with that, I believe is called Double Gunner ability on that Inteleon VMAX, move them around with the Alakazam, and then Yoga Loop your poor little Calm Phase over and over again, it's a tough matchup, and we already see that Medicham V. I accidentally spoke it into existence as the only starter in our hand here, so we will see if we're able to set that up here, or if the Giratina is able to just go ahead and take 3 prizes on one of the VMAXs, so it could be a really interesting matchup here.
Yeah, I agree. As a person who's been playing a lot of Rapid Strike Box lately, it's important to get your little Octilleries, your fishies set up, getting the Inteleons out there, and they have a fairly strong starting hand here. They can use the Nest Ball, get themselves the fish, and then they could hopefully use the Ultra Ball to get something more.
Yeah, and we've got that VMAX in hand already and the Octillery in hand, and as we know, most Lost Box decks only play maybe a one-off Roxanne for late game, so those cards are going to be able to stay in our hand.
I know Savid likes to play, he likes to put Palpad in his deck, so he could actually lose both of his supporters here and put them back, which his current list, he has removed it.
So not going to be something that we have access to here. However, that would be really good if we did have Palpad, since both Clara and Roxanne are probably supporters we want to see later in the game. Boss's Orders could help us already, try to mess with our opponent here. With the Giratina package in Lost Box, they do sometimes have less switching cards, less things to use to get out of that active, but we're seeing a pretty strong start from our Lost Box player already. Some Flower Selectings in there and a Battle VIP Pass. Does look like they have sent a Water Energy and a Sableye to the Lost Zone. I don't know if Sableye is really going to help us very much in this matchup, though. With those huge VMAXs, if you have multiple turns to set up the Sableye damage, if you can get there really quickly, maybe, but I think it makes sense to just more focus on Giratina overall.
Yeah, and that's a very important thing. The Giratina has the ability to one-hit KO any of the VMAXs as long as you get plenty of cards into the Lost Zone.
Yeah, which we're seeing here when we also see 2 Giratina Vs coming down onto the bench with that Battle VIP Pass. It is our first turn, of course, so we are able to go grab 2 basic Pokemon and put them straight onto our bench. Such a great card overall. Going to be seen in a lot of decks. We do see the top deck of the Judge there, so I do think that this could come into play. We could see the Judge here be able to hopefully try to mess with the Lost Box opponent here. Judge being the only hand disruption we have except for Roxanne later in the game. It's like we're opting to grab another Inteleon V with that Nest Ball, and then gonna go ahead and Ultra Ball away 2 supporters here, the Boss's Orders and the Clara. I'm not sure if we play just like a really thin line of Remoraid or if we have prized one. It does look like we play a 2-2 line, so it looks like we prized our second one there. Interesting. Great Ball, a card that I don't think people would have imagined that we would be playing too much, but playing 4 of in this deck. Gonna be able to look at the top 7 of your deck and grab a Pokemon there, put it into your hand. So it can be helpful to grab random, if you need a basic, if you need the VMAXs, but it is only the top 7, so the chances of getting something are a little lower. We did see the judge there, but unfortunately our opponent already has the chorus ready to go, so judged him into that.
So the judge can be very powerful. I mean, we can see it all. And then you were talking about Great Ball. I actually like Great Ball in this format. It's one of those cards that always seem to come back right at the beginning of rotation when we have a small card pool. People use it, and then they go and we use it for a while, and then the better options start coming back.
Right. No, I'm definitely not dissing Great Ball. I was just going back over it because it's funny how I think it's Great Ball and Pokegear, two cards that I used a lot when I was first learning how to play. The only thing about those cards, those look at the top 7 kind of cards, is that they feel so bad when they whiff. Like when you're so desperate for another basic, and then you look at the top 7 and it's all supporters and energy, and you're like, no!
Yeah, and that's happened many times. Or like when you flower select, and then you get the 2 cards that you need, and you have to toss one of them. You're like, no, please, no.
Speaking of flower select, we're seeing maybe flower select here that is tough. Took us a second. I think that was an escape rope. So 6 in the Lost Zone, so not quite to Mirage Gate territory yet. I was like, the swirl that we've got going on, is that because Giratina moved into the active? That like effect?
Yes.
Interesting.
And this will be a tip for any players. If you go into settings and turn off the board, where you can go and do the extra board effects, you will usually gain performance. Same thing if you turn down music and sound effects. You will gain so much from doing that.
That is good to know. I will go ahead and turn that off and see if that helps my phone from overheating, as we were talking about earlier. There's another escape rope in the Lost Zone, and then a pass over, so even though we've got that 7 there, assuming there's no way to Mirage Gate. What do we grab here? Do we grab maybe like a Karina's to be able to draw more? That Rapid Strike search ability on this Octillery gonna let us go into our deck and grab a Rapid Strike card, then shuffle our deck. With what is in our hand, we don't have very much going on, so my assumption would be grabbing that Karina's Focus, and it does look like that's what we are thinking about doing. I'm just gonna go ahead and play it and draw 3 cards.
Then we get the Forest Sealstone, which is a very strong card. So we could grab that, use it, and get whatever card we do want, which to me, grabbing the Inteleon VMAX might be a good idea right now, because then you would be able to at least hopefully start double gunnering with the energy you do have in hand. Or alternatively, you can hold back for a turn.
It looks like that is what we're thinking about grabbing, or maybe not. I suppose we could probably grab quite a few things. We could grab a supporter for next turn if we felt like that was correct. Because we do know our opponent probably does not play any way to hand disrupt us until later in the game, which does look like they're opting to play 2 Roxanne, which is common in the kind of Lost Zone decks that are Giratina and Goodra, but not as common in the single prize or the kind of I think they call it the Sky Seal Stone version of Lost Box with Dragonite and Drapion and Sky Seal Stone.
Now the question here is, yes, what do you want to sacrifice? And it does feel like you need to sacrifice your extra Inteleon because, well, what more can you do?
Right. Yeah, so it looks like that is what we're going to put up as a shield for now. Would probably rather give up a single prizer, but we do know that the other Remoraid is prized, so this deck being so reliant on that Octillery with that Rapid Strike search to be able to go grab whatever we need, especially with our hand kind of looking the way that it is, not too much going on here. Oh, okay, sounds good. I wish we got a longer look at that Lost Zone. I do know that both Sableye are in the Lost Zone, I believe. So, talking about what I was saying earlier, knowing that Sableye is probably just not really going to help us with these VMAX decks, especially with Rapid Strike sometimes playing healing as well. It doesn't look like this version has opted for any healing. Just having Melanie's a one-off Roxanne, one-off Judge, a one-off Karina's, and a one-off Clara. So we won't see any healing happening here, but it is really common, especially with being able to use that attack on the Inteleon VMAX and pick up our energy, go ahead and Cheryl it, and then put it right back on there. That's super, super powerful. So we do see that Giratina V-Star coming down. It's fully charged up with energy here. We're seeing a pause. Come on, what are we going to do? Attack.
They may be debating between using the V-Star attack here or just doing a normal attack. Considering that if they use a normal attack, they do end up with more energy in the Lost Zone. But are they going to be able to continue with the attacks going? They need to get to 6 prizes, and now they could use the V-Star on a VMAX, but it's only going to do so much.
It's true. It's just, I think that flipping over that V-Star marker onto a VMAX is just so powerful, though. Especially because we are opting to play 2 bosses orders with rotation, with a little bit of room freeing up within Lost Box decks, seeing quite a few of them opting to either play 4 cross switchers or upping the boss's orders count for extra gust. Oh man, it always feels bad to energy retrieval for only 1 energy, but we do see that energy retrieval, and then that double gunner ability going to be able to discard it and place some damage counters. So we see 40 damage on both of those Comfeys. Not quite enough to start the Yoga Loop yet, unfortunately. Man, and then just gonna go ahead and put that Inteleon up there. That is really scary.
Take what damage you can.
Yeah.
And it's now a matter of what do you get off the top deck? What can you get? And sometimes that's the problem with the Rapid Strike box. It just has these issues where things just, you don't draw, things don't come in play, or you're just a little bit slow with your setup. I personally have started playing VIP Pass on mine with Irida. And Irida will come in, and I can use that sometimes going second, grab the Battle VIP Pass, and have a much better start to my turn. That
makes a lot of sense. Especially when you're needing those Vs down, but you're also needing the things like the Radiant Alakazam and those Remoraid's to be able to evolve into the Octillery. So it makes sense. I actually don't hate Battle VIP Pass in this.
Talking to some of the other Rapid Strike players out there, the importance of getting the Octillery set up, the Octopus, however you want to put it, is extreme. And if you can get 2 of them out there sometimes, it makes it even better, because then your opponent can boss it, and if they understand that it's important, and then they're like, well, they already got a second one down. So you force a little bit more of a harder resource choice for them.
That makes sense.
But also right now, look at the hand difference.
I know. Yeah, just such a big hand. That's what ends up happening for these Lost Box decks that don't get checked. Like we said earlier, this Urshifu Inteleon deck, Rapid Strike box, only playing a one-off Judge. So until our opponent goes down to those prize cards, wouldn't be able to use that Roxanne. But I mean, we've already seen the Roxanne hit the discard pile, right? So. Oh no, you're all good. Looks like we see that energy recycler, so we will see that energy go back into the deck. It wasn't too many. I think there was a water and a psychic, or a water and a grass. So there wasn't too many, but with Giratina having to send those energies to the Lost Zone definitely is a good thing to be able to get those back into the deck. The ones that you have discarded with that Radiant Greninja Concealed Cards ability to be able to draw extra cards. You see the Mirage Gate come down. So charging up the Giratina V-Star on our bench and also putting one water energy onto the Greninja here, as well as benching that Cramorant. So even though we have sent both of our Sableye to the Lost Zone, we will be able to take out that Octillery with Cramorant potentially, and we do see Star Requiem go ahead and flip over that V-Star marker and just knock out that Inteleon VMAX. And the top deck of the Drapion, he is not helping us here. He is there for the Mew matchup, but he is not helpful here. Man, it's tough. I know we only play one Karinas, but in this situation, I feel like if we had Karinas throughout this game, like this might have been a completely different game.
Yeah, I feel this is one of the failures of the Rapid Strike box, is it just will come into these horrible hands. And nothing will ever happen of it.
Yeah, it's like, I think if we had maybe figured out how to include maybe like 2 or 3 instead of 1 Karinas, potentially could have had a slightly different game there. But yeah, we are just going to pass the turn over there, and we will see if we have the boss's orders, which we do. We see that full art Giovanni, the correct boss's orders to play with, in my opinion. Go ahead and boss up that Octillery. Poor little octopus, 280 damage. And we will see Giratina V-Star Lost Box is our victor here.
And here it comes. And I am a Giovanni myself, so I think that one's the best. So we're going to look at the list. So this is the list Savid for Hunter's been playing. He has played it to some very good records in some tournaments, going through, having things happen. He's made some changes. Like I said earlier, I believe he played Palpad, because I was playing a similar list. And he might have removed it, he might have changed it. He plays a little bit more heavier on the Melanie side. I have actually cut down to 1 Melanie. It's a card that I don't have much use for. But it's interesting. It can be a brick. It can be a potato. It can be a lot of things. And watching this game, we saw the bad part. But, I mean, that happens sometimes, right, Emmy? Sometimes you just have a bad game.
Very true. And yeah, like there's nothing to be down on yourself about. Sometimes you just have those bad hands or the bad matchup. Something that I think a lot of top players really emphasize is it's okay to take a bad matchup. It's okay. Just get yourself back out there. You can do it. Yeah.
And again, Savid plays, and this is one of the differences in my list and his, he plays actually heavy Drapion line for the Mew matchup. And
I think it's correct, honestly. It's really tough to get those last prizes, I think, with Mew. Just if Mew pops off, but I'm not sure. I haven't tested this deck enough, but double Drapion is just the nail in the coffin, right?
It does work a little bit better, but playing it on stream, double Drapion made me play a little bit too aggressive, and I can never find that last prize. A lot of them are running into, a lot of people have been familiar with the Fusion Strike one lately. And if you kind of go heavier in Inteleon, you have Cheryl, which he's removed from his deck as well. You can tank a hit or two possibly, and then wipe that damage with your Inteleons. You're kind of going with a heavier Inteleon, maybe a little bit slower thing going to it, and you're trying to prize map a little bit differently.
For sure, yeah. Something that I was mentioning earlier about that Cheryl is Cheryl and healing is so awesome in this current format. I think that we see it in Gardevoir, we see it usually in Rapid Strike box. We don't see it here in this list, but I don't think it would have really helped us in that matchup in particular, since we were just going to go ahead and see that Star Requiem take 3 prize cards, but definitely would help in kind of the single prize lost box format overall.
I agree. And with that was this week's featured game from the Tournament of Doom. Sadly, we didn't get to see our featured deck take home the win, but as we were saying, that's sometimes how it plays. I'm Senior Doom. Joining me, as always, is the ever amazing Pokey Emmy. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good YouTube stuff, and hopefully we will see you next week.